It's good, that tune, is it? I'm really getting into it. I think it needs like...
Bit repetitive, though, it needs a hook.
It needs a heavier drum.
It needs Dave Grohl. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to the Gerry and Scarlett show. We're just a couple from Glasgow who wanted their own chat show, stroke topical review show, stroke podcast. So we're doing it.
Yes, here we are. And so today we are doing the rabbit hole, and then we are going to go, which is about Woody Harrelson's dad, no less.
Yeah.
Very exciting one. And then we're going into our reviews, which this week is Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves.
Yeah, Honor Among Thieves.
Then the Artifice Girl, and then Bad Sisters, the TV series on Apple Plus. So yeah,
I'm going to be trying to do a lot more live editing, so people might notice I've already made one mistake. If you're listening on Spotify, then you don't need to worry yourself with that. Thank you for listening.
Play a drinking game. If you're watching Gerry's mistakes, use a Eurovision style drinking game or something like that. We should play along.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay, so should we crack on? Yeah, we're going to try and make it as quick as possible. We're keeping under the 30-minute mark. We think we're going to aim for 25 minutes from now onwards, so there's a wee...
Okay, so Scarlett's Rabbit Hole. So tell us where you started off this week and where did you end up? In your
well, we're not doing that. What I'm doing again is a one-man thing, because I got excited by the end of the last one-man thing and fell down another one-man rabbit hole, of which is Woody Harrelson's dad. So this came off the back of last week. You remember last week we were looking at 2 Woody Harrelson films,
right?
And I was like, this guy is really interesting, and so it was on his Wikipedia just about Woody Harrelson, and noticed that his dad had a click-through, and I always like to look at the parents if they've got a click-through because it tends to be quite interesting. This one did not disappoint. So the whole rabbit hole is going to be about Woody Harrelson's dad, Charles Harrelson.
Charles
Harrelson, which is very tricky to say, actually.
Nigel Farage.
Yeah, it's
Nigel Farage and Charles.
It's easier to say when you're drunk, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Charles Harrelson is Woody Harrelson's dad. He is also an American hitman and organised crime figure.
This is Woody Harrelson's dad.
Yeah, for real, an actual real-life hitman.
Woody Harrelson was in Natural Born Killers. His dad
yes. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So Charles Harrelson, his life starts pretty normally. He's one of 6. Many of his family members worked in law enforcement. He joined the Navy briefly, and after that, he became an encyclopedia salesman, which I'm fairly sure was when the crime spree started. And he was also at the same time a pro gambler, which probably went quite well with the crime spree.
There's no way he was a hitman and an encyclopedia salesman. That's got to be a cover.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I think it was a cover. But I mean, I'm sure he sold a few encyclopedias in the same way that we know from The Wire, Jared, that factual content that they're allowed to have photocopy shops that do photocopies.
But that would be an amazing. Imagine
at the same time as
to be a hitman and with the cover of being like an encyclopedia salesman, and actually you ended up being really good at selling encyclopedias.
Well,
I'm not actually going to do the bird. I sold him like 12 copies of Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah, the chat is that he was a really charming, funny, engaging, and intelligent man. So I imagine lots of salespeople have to have those things. So yeah, I imagine he probably was quite good at the encyclopedia salesman. Anyway, so he disappeared from the family home when Woody was 7, leaving his wife, so Woody's mum, to raise his 3 boys. So Woody's one of 3 boys. And in the 1960s, he was convicted of armed robbery. He was actually tried at a similar time for various murders in the 60s, but they couldn't make any of them stick. He was also quite good at his job.
He's a good head.
Then they finally made one stick in the late 60s, and he got 15 years, but served only 5 for good behaviour. Because he's charming.
Charming Charles
Harrelson. According to his later prison diaries, he admitted that he was actually involved in dozens of murders in the early 60s before he left his family, and whilst working as the encyclopedia salesman. Shortly after his release from that one that they did manage to pin him down for, that he served 5 years for, he was then implicated in another murder, but this time of a very important a sitting judge in America, US district judge called John Wood, who is known by the nickname Maximum John, because he was known for handing out...
That's not a good sign if Maximum John's your judge, is it?
Well, he's known for handing out maximum sentences. Yeah. So he was hired by Charles Charles Harrelson was hired by a drug kingpin, Jimmy Shagra, who was due to be sentenced.
These are all the hardest names for you to say.
They really are. By this judge, Maximum John, and he was a drugs kingpin, so he knew he was going to get a big sentence. Wow. So he paid Woody Harrelson's dad, Charles Harrelson, £250,000 to knock him off. Is that the right word?
And is that why Woody Harrelson was then in the film Kingpin?
I don't know.
I
don't know.
Isn't that
Kingpin? Is that not about 10-pin bowling?
Yes.
So
they changed it. I mean, often in real life, these true stories get changed around quite a lot.
Let's move on. Okay, so shattered bullet fragments found at the scene were traced to a rifle, the type recently purchased by Harrelson's wife, Joanne Harrelson, after a 6-hour cocaine-fueled standoff with police, during which he confirmed he had killed the judge, but also claimed he'd killed JFK.
Fair enough.
No. I think he was probably on a lot of drugs.
That would be a hell of a conspiracy theory, though, wouldn't it?
Oh, well, he does appear in the JFK conspiracy theories. It is no way proven, and he actually retracted it later and said that was just the drugs. But he was trying to get a little bit further time with the police. I don't know whether he was waiting for lawyers, waiting for someone else to turn up, whatever the thing was.
Amazing double bluff, though.
Maybe.
Like, oh, by the way, I killed JFK. But, he's just
I did have a soft.
He actually did.
Well, I had a soft dive into one of those conspiracy theories because I was like, well,
there's a rabbit hole.
Well, yeah. I wasn't even going to talk about this because JFK is a whole other one that we should maybe cover at a different point.
It becomes a JFK podcast.
Yeah, I think the suggestion was that there was 3 sleeping tramps or something around that were supposedly maybe involved, and he was maybe one of those. I don't know. Anyway, we'll go into that another time. Okay. Let's not delve into that because that is almost certainly not correct. Right, so finally this is Charles Harrelson. Finally, he was arrested, convicted, and finally sentenced to 2 life sentences in prison. Woody rediscovered his father's whereabouts in 1981 when this news broke of his father's arrest for this judge's, because obviously this is no sitting judge has ever been killed. Had been assassinated.
Very good at being a hitman.
Is that
professional one?
So is an assassination just when it's someone high up? It is, isn't it?
It's
someone
a
important
target.
Yeah, so it's an assassination, isn't it?
You carry on.
I think it is an assassination. I think it must be.
I'm going to say.
So
maybe.
So anyway, he
talk about a rabbit hole. By the way, this is a TV and film review show.
Quick, shush. Woody Harrelson later funded his father's appeals, enlisting the aid of controversial attorney Alan Dershowitz. In 2003, Shagra, who had actually been let off with it, that was the drug kingpin, he recanted his statements that it was Harrelson that did it and stated someone else did it. So, but again, I think that might have been an untruth as well.
Thanks for these untruths. It's amazing. Do you want assassination?
Yeah, we'll go on.
Okay, so it's a premeditated act of killing someone suddenly or secretively, especially a prominent person. So yeah.
So it is right. It's assassination. Great.
Cool.
Charles Harrelson unfortunately died at the age of 69 of a heart attack in his cell at a Supermax federal prison, and Shagra died the year after of cancer. But I don't think he ever got committed. Now, in the biggest weird twist of this whole rabbit hole, was that in April 2023, Matthew McConaughey did claim that they could potentially be brothers.
What?
As his mother, so McConaughey's mother, claimed to have known.
They do look a bit.
Winky.
They look a bit like each other, don't they?
Okay, yeah. So she claimed to have, let's be honest, slept with Charles Harrelson around about that time when he was divorcing his wife. And Matthew McConaughey's father, was insistent that he wasn't his child, refused to go to the hospital when she was giving birth. It was a whole big thing.
No way.
And so the 2 of them have discussed taking a DNA test. They often refer to each other as brothers from another mother, and they have now written a semi-autobiographical TV show called Brother from Another Mother. And it's a comedy TV series that will be available on AppleTV. And it stars McConaughey and Harrelson as versions of themselves. I thought this was a bit of a PR stunt initially.
Yeah, well, they were in Detective.
Yeah, they were in True Detective. Yeah. And so I initially thought it was a bit of a PR stunt. And then I actually started reading up on it. And it does sound quite legit. They've asked their mothers about it. They've had, they've sat down and looked at dates. It does seem...
They look... Let me get that picture up again. They do look a bit like each other.
Yeah, they do.
And there's one that... The dimpled cheeks and the kind of... Similar
Yeah, and
nose,
just recently,
eyes.
I think even in the last couple
They
of
have
weeks,
heads.
Woody Harrelson, or it might have been Matthew McConaughey, one of them posted a picture of the two of them swimming together in the ocean somewhere, and they look really
And they have
similar.
the same
And
nipples.
it did say brothers from another mother, you know, because
Wow.
they quite often they use that moniker for each other all the time.
Wow.
And I was looking at it and I was like, oh my god, this might be the biggest gossip in Hollywood ever.
Oh, well, fair enough then. Well, we'll keep it up to date, a weekly update on the paternity tests of McConaughey.
Or maybe we'll
And
just leave it until the show
have-
comes out, because I actually think the show is going to happen and come out, and yeah, I think it'll probably be in the next year or so, because it's underway anyway.
Well, I'm up for that. That was a hell of a rabbit hole.
I know, right? Yeah. So let's move on. So
from rabbit holes, let me try and do a good link.
Oh.
So from rabbit holes to dungeons, and with dragons in them.
Aha.
That's a sore link.
Yeah, I don't think there's any. There's no actual rabbits in it. There was a deer. There was a CGI deer.
Yeah, that'll do as a link. There you go. That was smooth.
Yeah.
Cool. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which is available on PrimeTV, is the film that we watched. Where's the synopsis? So a charming thief, Chris Pine, of course, could he be anything other than charming, and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a long-lost relic. But their charming adventure goes dangerously awry when they run afoul of the wrong people. It's a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
It's so Dungeons and Dragons. Obviously based on the board game. I remember the film that came out in 2000. We've done Dungeons and Dragons before,
and there was a TV show, animated.
Yeah,
TV show.
I remember the kids' TV show, and there's little hints and stuff to the kids' TV show and stuff in it. Littered among the place and in the trailers for it. The 2000 movie was really not the best film I remember.
No.
So I had big hopes for it, and fans seem to be loving this one.
And it was big budget. They had all the stars.
Yeah.
They had the budget. They have and then I think they were. I was looking into it a little bit, and they seemed to be very committed. The actors they played the board game a few times before they
really?
actually, as a cast. And
Wow.
so I think they were allowed to improvise based on the experiences they'd had in the board game. And
I did not see. That's a really good idea, because I've actually never played. I like my board games and stuff like that. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, but I've often thought to get some actor pals and stuff together, because you are taking on. It's a role play.
Yeah, well, it's improvisation, isn't it? Yeah,
it benefits from you taking on the role of it. And I think one of the weird. There definitely is hints towards people who have played the board game, and I think
very strong hints. I think you get a lot more out of this film if you are a fan. I think it's fair to say,
because there's loads of little groups of four. Even the fact that it's written out with the odd kind of characters, you can see them in it there. And there's little groups of four of them. There's these odd bands are formed, because people form their own individual characters in the board game, and they've obviously tried to kind of more than nod their head to it for this. That's basically what the premise is. So you've got a wizard. I just found it a wee bit odd that Chris Pine's gone from playing Captain Kirk, who's a kind of leading man, he would do the fighting, and in this he's just the charming minstrel. He's the guy with the wit, and there is a warrior. It feels that jars a little bit. There's a few bits that jar within it. I'm not going to lie.
The story, it feels slightly lacking from a non-D&D perspective. I think if you're into Dungeons and Dragons, then there's lots of. I'm sure there's loads of really incredible little hints and.
Yeah, well, it's a quest, isn't it? They just go on quest, and this is a quest.
And probably lots of nostalgia, I would imagine, that we are probably missing. So I feel.
Well, let's be honest. You didn't finish it.
I didn't finish it. No,
so
I left. I watched an hour and 20 minutes of it.
I did enjoy it because it is fun. There's plenty of good action. The fight sequences are great. I felt like it was still a wee bit kind of like madcap for me, like the storyline, the things that were going on. There's a lot of comedy in it. I'm not sure all of it lands as well as it could do. Some of it seemed a little bit kind of flat, but it's very tongue-in-cheek all the way through, and that is enjoyable. And then the cast were great in it as well.
The cast were brilliant. Hugh Grant was cracking
in it, and
he was really good. And there was a wee cameo from
Woody Harrelson's buddy.
Yes, oh my goodness, it's gone. Bradley Cooper. Oh my goodness, Bradley Cooper does a wee cameo in it. Which
we're criticising this film, but we're not even being
trivia.
Being good at criticising films.
Wee bit of trivia. He actually filmed that wee cameo after he saw the film.
Right.
So the film had been edited and sent. He's pals with the director, and the director sent him the film. I wonder if he got a scene for the initial main part.
Maybe
Chris Pine, because he's quite similar to Chris Pine.
Inserted a scene,
and so they inserted that scene laterally. And it's a lovely scene. That was one of my favourite bits.
Yeah,
just because he's really funny in it.
Yeah,
it's a funny.
It says something about the film if you can just insert a scene into it.
And it added to that character who was fairly one-dimensional at that point. So interesting. Worth a watch if you're a big Dungeons and Dragons fans. I think you'll love it. We actually looked on the review site about it because I did wonder if we were missing loads of stuff.
Are loving it.
And the fans are wild for it. So it is obviously, I'm sure you already know. If you are into Dungeons and Dragons, then you would know. But if you are even a little bit, then go and watch it because I think you get a lot more out of it.
It feels a wee bit blinkered. Some of the really big. I mean, there's fans seem to be loving it, but people were really praising the CGI and stuff in it. And I thought it was good. I wasn't like blown away. The big fat dragon's fun and it's fun. Oh, yeah. It's fun. Rather, I do get the point.
There's a lot of fun.
Right. Okay. Ratings. I'm going to go for a 3 Gs. And you maybe you were.
I'm going to not rate it because I don't think it's fair that I didn't.
You didn't finish it.
I was really shattered. I mean, we had children's play party, our son's birthday party the day before. Knackered. So yeah, I am not going to rate it because I don't think it's fair. Right.
Okay. Well, that's it. 3 Gs for me, which is then. So what would be a good link into this then? So bad girl for not finishing. Watching the film, and now from Bad Girl onto the Artifice Girl.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to Bad Girls. Bad Sisters afterwards.
I know. I'll use that link again.
Right. Okay. So we're talking about
a fantastic
from artificial animals to artificial intelligence. Let's talk about the Artifice Girl, which is, there we go, special agents discover a revolutionary computer program that uses a digital child to catch online predators, pedophiles. However, they soon learn that the AI's inevitable advancement is far more rapid and incalculable than they could ever have imagined, posing unforeseen challenges and unsettling consequences for the future of technology and mankind. Written, directed, and starring Franklin Rich. And he does an excellent job, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does a really brilliant job in it. I think this is the first of 2 shows that we're going to talk about with its writer star in it, which is never an easy thing to do. And just the whole AI thing is massive right now. Everyone's talking about AI. Everyone's terrified. The ethics around it. And look, it's not the first movie we've had about artificial intelligence overtaking human intelligence and becoming self-aware. Do you know what I mean? It's what was it? For AI with Haley Joel Osment and what else? And even Terminator is basically about that as well. But what it feels very now because of it, because we're seeing the fact that people can use this technology to write their essays. We're seeing the fact that people can use this technology to like create whatever image they want.
Poetry,
really scary.
Photographs of people who never existed. It is really fascinating. And so this, I thought this was really interesting because I read up a little bit on what made him write this in the first place, because I always think that's really interesting, because he's not a techie, he's an actor. He's not he's not come from the software industry or anything like that. So he had read articles about people that were using motion capture avatars to hunt online predators, so pictures, motion created pictures, to hunt online predators. And then in a separate part of the world, they were using text-based chatbots to also do that. So he was like, I wondered what this world would be if these two collaborated and managed to create that. And so that was how kind of his way into it. And
it's filmed in an interesting way as well, because like there's the nucleus of the idea, and you see him and he's being pulled in because they think he's a paedophile and what's all this thing you've got on there, and he's like, it's not what you think. So done in sort of 3 acts, where there's the bit where he is reveals his AI, his groundbreaking AI, and then there's another time period later on and another time period later on, which was really, it felt to me like a stage play because of that.
Yeah, and for clarity, that is not a spoiler. You get told that right at the start that this is AI. Yeah, so don't worry, you can still watch it. The real crux of the story is actually an emotional thing that comes up latterly. Sort of it seeps through the story, and then in the 3rd act it becomes the predominant part of the story, I would say.
Yeah, it's all about at what point can you consider AI to actually be a life, something that you should ask permission of? That's
I'm talking about the trauma aspect, Clearwater aspect.
Oh.
That's
No, that is a spoiler.
Yeah, well, it's not a true thing. They're not going to know what that is. So yeah, there's a story, an emotional story about trauma that sort of filters in. It's not immediately obvious for a long time. So there is plenty to unwrap from this film, and it's just such an interesting conversation.
There's some really cool kind of parts that Lance Henriksen makes an appearance later on. So, and I had a kind of, and we've talked about this before. He said that there was a bit of a fanboy thing going on there when they cast him in it, and for me, I was like, oh my god, that's Bishop from Aliens, who in the Aliens films, in the second film, he plays the android who helps Ripley, but she doesn't trust him because obviously in the first film there's an android that goes against them. And
I just clocked that there's a little Bishop moment when they're playing chess in the third act. That
talk about bishops.
Yeah, so there's a little Easter egg. Watch out for the Easter egg in the third act. So that was I loved that.
Yeah, there's lots of nice stuff. Oh, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Do you know what? I thought it was just captivating. When we started watching it, we were just in it. There's so much goes on nowadays. Your phone goes off to stuff, but I thought the two of us were just totally fixated with it. Yeah, because it's very gripping. Every bit of it, the dialogue's so well done. The little dynamics. It's always like three people in a scene, usually 3 or 2. So very kind of close and just brilliant performances.
Yeah, there's nothing, no fancy CGI or anything like that. It's a really interesting. It's a conversation. The story is a conversation about the ethics and about trauma and about lots of really interesting things. So you do want to listen to it, which is really complimentary, I would have said. Yeah. So what are you going to give it?
I really loved it. I'm going to go for 5. I think it's like a full-on one of my favourite films of the year already.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh. Okay, I'm going to 4. Did I give it 4?
You said 4.5.
4.5. 4.5. That was what I was going to say, and then I panicked that I'd said 4. Right, 4.5 for me. Yeah. Great. Right, so moving swiftly on.
So from Artifice Girls to Bad Sisters. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. So this is a TV series on Apple TV, and again, it's a writer-creator, and co-star and star, Sharon Horgan, the wonderfully acerbic, witty Sharon Horgan, who I just think can do no wrong. And so this is a delicious blend of both dark comedy and thriller. Bad Sisters follows the lives of the Garvey sisters, who are bound together by the premature death of their parents and a promise to always protect one another. So there's 5 sisters. It's a really funny murder mystery and family drama, basically. So the family, it's 5 different sisters. I think it's very clever that it doesn't fall into the immediate stereotypes of 5 women having to be wildly different. It does do a bit of that because there is 5 sisters. They have to look somewhat alike.
And image, though, but one of them's
one of them's got it. I mean that's classic, isn't it? I mean one of your family must have a patch.
No, but it's good. They are like, they're similar enough because sisters should be like that, and they're different enough because obviously people are, there's the wilder one, there's the kind of matriarch,
the boozy one,
and then there's the kind of pushover one, which is, I mean, I wasn't massively convinced. I don't know. I found that jarred with me a wee bit. The whole premise of the story is the sister that's being badly treated by this horrible husband, and he's very easy to hate. To be fair, it just seems so nasty.
Yeah, that could maybe have been pulled back slightly. To make it slightly more realistic.
Yeah, because it wasn't full on gaslighting. He was just nasty.
But it is supposed to be a comedy, and like the black comedy thing can really pull from someone that you don't mind laughing at death when the guy's been a total see you next Tuesday. Yeah. So it's it's
kind of a whodunit kind of. There's the question mark around what's happened here. For me, it looked like the premise for like a really good, fun, dark comedy film. Yeah. So as a series, in my mind, I was always struggling to go like, how does this stretch out over a series? Yeah. But I mean,
we haven't found out yet because we haven't finished it yet. So this is really just saying we've started watching this. It's absolutely brilliant so far, and I'm definitely going to carry on watching it. So yeah, join us if you want to watch it. Like I say, it's on Apple Plus. I am giving it 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'll join you on that. Like brilliantly filmed, great humor, fantastic cast as well. So that's a winner.
Let's do it. Right. So next week, woohoo! We got a bit of a change up coming, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yeah, instead of your regular episode, we're going to do a little kind of G&S's 2023 top picks so far of the year. Yep. So we'll do some of our top recommendations in a wee compact format for you. So hopefully you enjoy that.
Yeah, we 10-minute ep of what to watch for just in case you're in a rush and you want to see. We'll do a mixture of films and TV, and
great.
Babby.
See you then.
Right, see you then.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Hello.